Hi, my name is Johannes Baumgartl, and
Hi, I'm Thomas Irmscher. Nice to meet you.
we are going to. Oh, that's awesome! And we're going to present you one of our new Eclipse SDV projects, hopefully. So the technical advisory committee already accepted it, and so Thomas and I, along with Stefan and Oliver, we've together, well, um, founded, proposed.
Yeah, so to say, we are the dudes, yeah, who found openDuT. The reason for that is we are all doing testing, right? Do you want to have a better? Do you want to have a worse? We know there's something to do, and that's why we found together quite naturally. Yeah.
And yeah, so to outline our problem a little bit more, so we had the flight distribution problem. So it's a little bit overtuned, but I think it makes something obvious. So we have a quite hardware-heavy business when it comes to integration testing, security testing, and so on and so forth. And hardware is always a rare good, and it has to be kept well, really, really, really secret to the development teams so that they can work. So, and when it comes to integration test or security testing, you have to put some things temporarily together, and then you go testing, and then it works or not, or we would like to repeat it, and it's every time hard. And the next thing is, though the V&V tools landscape is, well, partially scattered, so it's a lot of heavy stacks around in our companies, and the cross-platform capability is not that good. So, and overall, so testing is, well, not really reproducibility is really slow, and it's expensive, and it's not force-friendly, and it's always pain. And we had an idea to put that things together, Thomas.
Yes, and this we want to tell you right now. So basically, openDuT shall be an open source framework for automotive testing. Yeah, so we will not limit it to only security testing, safety testing, something like this. So we want to be open for everybody who has a problem or who has some constraints with automotive testing properly, right? So when we think of testing, there are always some drawbacks, at least what we see currently with the tools. Yeah, so either the tools are closed, they do not have an interface to other tools, they have a poor report function or input function. It is very hard to break into this, yeah, right? So you're really locked in with those tools. And a problem is also to make it reproducible and certifiable. So if you think of automotive testing, there's always a character of making this official and certifiable. Yeah? If you think of the technical service then, the TÜV or somebody else who then shall approve a certain vehicle type, he needs some kind of data, he needs some kind of reproducibility reports, and let's say a consolidated state on which each party agrees on. And this is what we want to build here, right? So this test framework that provides this basis. It shall be a full test framework, so our users shall take it, use it for their purpose. It's not only a bridge of connecting already available tools together. It's an own framework.
So when we start, like I have a dream as a developer, I'd like to have this ECU in hardware, that one in software, then this RESPOS simulation and this testing toolkit. And I would like to have that in a nightly build. And please make a variation on that kind of hardware. So this is one of our example use cases, and maybe one of our first use cases we are going to contribute this year. And let's go a little bit into detail. So we are starting at the dudes here on the bottom. So we have some physical devices or virtual devices which have certain capabilities and would like to communicate with some kind of REST bus or would like to communicate with another ECU, virtual or real one, and via an IP-based automotive protocol or via CAN. So this is in scope. And they are eventually distributed. So they can be distributed in over certain desks where you just want to swap your security test case, and you have different test engines, and you don't want to wire, but you can also have a more distributed system over buildings, maybe over firewalls. So, and this is what we tackle, and this is what we can build right now with these edge clients. They can report this capability to some kind of SYN orchestrator. So, but this is not automotive communication only takes place between these devices, not over the node orchestrator or other central service. It's like we keep the topology which is intended to be. So only in case when there's a firewall involved and so on and so forth, we can tunnel that over this firewall, but without knowing what is communicated. It stays private and it stays safe when it is routed around the firewall. So Thomas, and how does testing actually work then when we have such a network?
Yeah, okay. So you say it very easily, yeah. So when we have such a network, I think this is already a very, very big step, yeah, having this network. And as Johannes mentioned, we want to have it distributed over several locations. So let's assume we have then this test network. So you can see this dotted rectangle, which is the testing infrastructure, right? The connection of the devices under test. They can be next to each other, they can be somehow virtually, it can be physical devices, it can be virtual devices, regardless of the representation. And if we have this, we come then to the, let's say, the test manager, automotive test manager. Yeah, sorry for that poor name. However, it's subject to change, I think. Nevertheless, the task of the upper box is very clear, because then it leverages the infrastructure. In that upper box, you have on the one side the node orchestrator and the network manager. These are the services that orchestrate this lower part, right? The infrastructure, connecting the edge clients with each other, making sure that the DUTs are available later on in the testing, that their, let's say, hardware characteristic is available during the testing and so on. So this is done by the node orchestrator and by the network manager. So then there is this dotted line in between the upper box, and these are the components to manage and finally also to run the automotive tests on the edge clients and later on also on the DUTs. You can see we have here also an interface with the user or with a CI/CD pipeline, so it shall be fully automated, of course. If we go one by one, for example, the campaign manager is basically a component where you set up your testing projects. Yeah? So what are you going to test? Are you testing full vehicle of which kind of model? Is it a module-based test? Is it a full system test? This you define in the campaign manager. Further, you have the test bench manager, and the test bench manager lastly connects the lower part, the infrastructure, with the testing campaign. That means the test bench manager knows about the DUTs, knows about their constraints, what kind of hardware interfaces they have, what kind of response simulation they need. With other DUTs they shall communicate or need for the test. The test bench manager, so to say, makes it possible that we have a test bench that can be tested. And finally, the test bench client. This is lastly the test logic. Yeah? So if you, for example, have a security test, then you want, for example, to run a scanning, or a fuzzing, or in a safety test or conformance test, you want to run a functional test. Yeah, you want to check for specific requirements. This is finally being done by the test bench client, who together works with the edge clients and executes later on the tests on the individual devices, on the openDuTs. Yeah.
So thank you for your attention, and maybe later this evening there's some, well, good fitting drink to this project. And one last thing. Happy to ask you questions, and we have a question too. We are looking for someone who likes to discuss with us what has to be certifiable regarding ISO 26262 tooling.
Good question, yeah.
So anyone
Thank you.
wants to ask question or answer the question?
Thank you. So, yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Sorry. Okay, sorry. No, she gave me. I take it. Thank you. So, certification then also talks about traceability. So.
We are looking into some open source tools for doing requirement traceability, and in here we are looking at open fast trace, for instance. Yeah, so that's a broader question. This is again a piece of the puzzle that we need to integrate it. Yeah.
Okay, I was a little bit we concretely talked about open fast trace to use that in the project. So for requirements tracing for our implementation, but I was wondering if you mean that we offer the possibility to trace requirements, and we won't do that, but we are discussing that, or we already agreed almost all that we use open fast trace for requirement tracing.
So my question is simply, you can test functional properties, yes, but how to deal with real-time constraints? Have you anything to test real-time constraints, which can also be certification relevant?
That's a hard question we are currently discussing regarding our distributedness.
Yeah.
So what we plan to do is that we can say something about the quality of this distributed network in advance. So, for example, you have a ping of something like that, that we can, when we are distributed, then we can guarantee a certain communication, real-time communication in terms of real-time. We currently think we can't do that, but it's open to have a try. So there's also research going on how to achieve that. If you can have a soft real-time thing going on, but a hard one for sure not, because there's no hard. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe one comment on that. Very good question, and we also were thinking about that. I think the important thing is that we need to have a deterministic framework, which gives you a clear yes or no, I can test it or not. And this is also what openDuT shall give you, right? For example, if we switch one slide back. Yeah. So for example, it could be the case that the DUTs are directly connected in a physical setup. There, for example, it's very likely, yeah, that the real-time constraints are guaranteed. But for example, if they are located on different places on the world, probably not. But the framework should always give you an result. The test with those requirements can be done or not. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks a lot. So thank you to the DUTs. And our next speaker